Give me some volume and go full screen.
What you know now, do you wish you had a third term? You know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats, looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony, I'd be fine with that.
We know he wasn't really running the country.
Yeah.
We used to think he was actually running the country, and now they're like, no, he didn't even see those executive orders. That was all auto pen.
Divorce rumors continue to escalate for the Obamas. Hopefully they can settle it like men. Terrible that you would applaud that.
Barack Obama didn't just step aside. He turned himself into Hollywood royalty, trading the White House podium for Netflix cameras and a beachfront mansion. Now, he's dropping books like Hits and sharing wisdom from a throne built on contradictions. But Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld aren't buying it. They cut through the shine to show a legacy that's more style than substance. It's a brutal takedown where charm collides with reality, and somehow he still lands a production deal.
Can I get a glass of water? I'm serious. I'm thirsty. Can I get a glass of water? This is not a prank. You never seen it?
No.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Oh,
it's amazing.
no.
He gets a glass of Flint tap water, and I swear to God, he drinks it like this,
Problem is solved?
Bullshitting the world. Watch this.
Can I get some water? I really did need a glass of water. This is not a stunt.
Usually when something isn't a stunt, you have to say
It's
that.
100% a stunt. When was the last time a president stopped a speech to ask, can I get a glass of water? What? They would never do that. They would have water ready for him. No, you bring water on stage with you.
Is Obama gay, needing attention over an old letter? What? I should read that again. Anyway, no, we'll just keep going. The New York Post obtained a redacted portion of a handwritten letter the former president sent to his then college girlfriend, Alex McNear. Alex, eh? Back in 1982. He talked about his, quote, androgynous mind and wrote, and I'm quoting Obama here, I make love to men daily, but in the imagination.
Barack Obama walked into history, armed with a pen, a teleprompter, and the confidence of a man who thought hope could run a country. For 8 years, he gave speeches that sounded deep but landed like fancy motivational posters. His presidency felt like a TED Talk with Secret Service backup, smooth, polished, and mostly empty. Under all the soaring words, results were thin. Yet every skeptical glance still got applause, like he just discovered a cure for cancer.
Michelle Obama surprised fans on our new podcast by saying her pet peeve about her husband is that he's chronically late. For example, we're still waiting on him to admit he's from Kenya. And as for Barack's pet peeve about Michelle, he's mad that she keeps leaving the toilet seat up. When she cleans it. When she cleans it.
Joe Rogan circles like a shark in blood-scented waters, slicing through the fog of nostalgia with the wild logic only he can deliver. If you've ever arm-wrestled a bear on mushrooms while unpacking quantum physics in a sauna, you've basically been on his podcast. He looks at Obama's legacy and doesn't see a statesman. He sees a smooth-talking comic who landed a Netflix deal without ever landing a punchline. From the start, Rogan knew this wasn't clarity. It was political interpretive dance. Lots of movement, zero meaning.
You know, he was roasting Trump in the audience, and you could see Trump in his head going, okay, I'm going to run now. Like, that might have been the thing that got him to run.
No one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac?
That one moment where Obama was talking to him might be the reason why Trump was like, I'll show you.
Greg Gutfeld steps in, wearing that trademark smirk that says it all. Sit back while I tear your legacy apart with just sarcasm and a Red Bull. And Obama handed him all the ammo. Here's a guy who scored a Nobel Peace Prize before even getting comfortable in the Oval Office, then spent years dropping drone strikes across the Middle East while Hollywood treated him like royalty. It was like watching a self-proclaimed pacifist claim a UFC belt by default, then storm the octagon swinging a steel chair, cheered on by a chorus of swooming reporters.
President number 44 wants to help the left censor more. Former President Obama, if that's his real name, is launching a campaign to stop the spread of disinformation, which he called a real challenge for our democracy. And also for his former Veep, who's challenged by questions like, what's my name and why am I nude in the Rose Garden?
Joe Rogan attacks foreign policy like a pit bull sinking its teeth into a pair of overpriced Italian loafers. He's not just analyzing diplomacy, he's calling it out like a UFC ref watching a fighter tap under a non-stop barrage of airstrikes. When Rogan looks at Obama's infamous red line in Syria, he sees what a survivalist sees in a broken compass, useless but still dangerous. The man threatened a dictator with all the gravity of a school principal warning a kid about cutting the lunch line. Spoiler, Assad didn't even flinch.
Because Obama said he was a jacket.
The young lady seems like a perfectly nice person. She's getting her award. What's he doing up there? Why would he do that? He's a jack.
It's like, oh, really? Well, you.
It was about the Taylor Swift thing.
Now, all this stuff.
That guy's a jacket. Like, it wasn't even that harsh of an incident. And he said it privately, and I think somebody heard it. I don't think he said it to be public.
I'm assuming all this stuff. Where's the pool? Come on, guys. Cut the president some slack.
Oh, here it is.
Seems like a perfectly nice person. She's getting her award.
Why would he do that?
He's a jack. No.
Gutfled rips into the economy like it's the driest turkey at Thanksgiving, dragging out that infamous shovel-ready jobs promise and turning it into a full-blown Broadway farce. Shovel-ready, what was really ready was the public's appetite for poetic nonsense. It was like ordering a steak and getting a scented candle. The recovery stumbled out of the 2008 wreckage with a hangover made of campaign slogans. But hey, if success means saying recovery summer without cracking a smile, Obama nailed it. Joe Rogan can't help but laugh watching Obama play Wall Street while pretending to save Main Street, showing up at Goldman Sachs events like a roadie missing his guitar but still trying to rock. He bailed out the banks, let homeowners sink, then strutted on stage like he taught America to swim. A political version of robbing your neighbor and getting a thank you card. Then Gutfeld turns to healthcare, slicing with sarcasm like a surgeon's scalpel. Obamacare, hyped as his crown jewel, sold like a miracle cure, until it revealed itself as a playground of medical chaos. Promised universal care, but delivered a DMV-style choose-your-own-adventure nightmare. The website launch was such a disaster, it made MySpace look like Amazon. Yet Obama grinned through it all, like a wedding DJ who doesn't notice the speakers are on fire.
Yes.
Let's admit it, America. We miss Barack Obama.
Juan does.
There he is. In a recent speech, he said he had no real scandals in his White House, a jab at Trump.
We didn't have a scandal that embarrassed us. I know that seems like a low bar. Generally speaking, you didn't hear about a lot of drama inside our White House.
No drama. So to quote the TSA officer whose dog just sniffed my carry-on, let's unpack this. So why didn't you hear much about O's White House? Well, who was brave enough to look? There was never a cozier relationship between a president and the media, ever.
Joe dives headfirst into the cultural chaos. Under Obama, America didn't just drift into identity politics, it cannonballed straight into a pool of Tumblr hashtags. Rogan, master of uncomfortable truths, can't ignore how the man who promised unity ended up splitting everyone into more groups than a Whole Foods snack aisle. Unity? Forget it. Gutfeld tears into the idea that figuring out Obama's brilliance takes more than surviving an hour of glossy emptiness without nodding off. Joe slams the surveillance state next. A spy-hungry nightmare that grew under Obama like dystopian fan fiction. The NSA wasn't just chasing terrorists, they were practically tracking grandma's banana bread recipe. The guy who campaigned on transparency built a digital panopticon and handed the deep state the keys with a wink. Yet the crowd cheered like he delivered freedom instead of a wiretap.
Obama, during this Kamala Harris administration, it changed my opinion of that guy. Boy.
Really? Did you have a high opinion of him
Yeah,
before?
I did. Yeah, I did, just as an intelligent person.
Right.
But watching him just straight up lie about Trump, the thing that got me was that very fine people thing, the white supremacist thing. They just kept trying to say that he was a racist.
Who said that there were very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally.
Which is this thing that I think worked in like 2017.
Yeah.
You know, I think it worked back then. I don't think it works anymore.
Greg grabs his legacy paintbrush and splatters sarcasm like Jackson Pollock on a White House portrait gone wild. He rips into the Iran deal, a foreign policy Vegas bet on a rigged roulette wheel. You hand billions to a regime shouting death to America, and walk away grinning like you just scored backstage passes to common sense. Gutfeld imagines Obama shaking hands with the Ayatollah blindfolded, pen in hand, while diplomats follow entirely different scripts. Then comes the immigration piñata. This is the guy who deported more people than any predecessor while spinning speeches that sounded like activist lullabies. Rogan pictures Obama standing before the Statue of Liberty preaching hope, then pulling a trapdoor out from under thousands of dreamers. It wasn't sanctuary, it was smoke, mirrors, and a press release dressed as a promise.
We've talked a lot about how the Democrats are trying to find the answer to Trump. They're trying to find the analog to him. But part of Obama's comments, too, he said, stop looking for the quick fix. Stop looking for the Messiah. You have a great candidates running races right now. Just focus on what you have in front of you.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, if you listen to Obama and you look at these inorganic protests, they say you have to have courage, rally, act, resist. But they don't. For what? What is the actual issue? When Trump owns every issue 80-20 by almost every metric, from the economy to crime to immigration, where are you? The high ground maneuver of common sense has relegated it into more extreme measures. Ask Obama, okay, where do I apply this courage? What space do I park it in? Should I double down on trans dudes in women's sports? Should I back the attacks on ICE?
Gutfeld swoops in on Obama's celebrity bromances. From Beyonce to Spielberg, the man wasn't governing, he was collecting photo ops like the prom king of globalist Gallus. Every state dinner played out like the Oscars, only with slightly more nuclear codes on the table. Greg pictures Obama rehearsing speech cadences in front of a mirror, candlelight flickering, Tom Ford scent in the air. This wasn't leadership, it was curated aesthetic governance with a jazz playlist and a fact-checker on call. Joe doesn't forget Chicago, the city where Obama cut his political teeth while pretending not to notice the spiraling violence, failing schools, and generational poverty festering in his backyard. Rogan calls it like it is. You don't fly over a crater and call it a garden. Chicago had everything Obama claimed to care about while he raised campaign cash and played rhetorical jazz over the bodies. Gutfeld slams the climate change charade. Obama flew to green conferences in Air Force One and left with tote bags full of broken promises. He promised green jobs like a kid handing out lemonade coupons in a blizzard while emissions kept climbing. Greg jokes Obama probably slapped a solar panel on his golf cart just to flex at Martha's Vineyard.
Tweeted Obama, part of the reason it's hard to bring about change is because we live in a media environment that elevates falsehoods as much as truths and divides people as much as it brings them together. Through the Obama Foundation, we're working to empower and equip emerging leaders to tackle issues like the spread of disinformation. Of course, as plenty of people immediately pointed out, it was Obama's Democratic allies who cooked up the Russian collusion hoax. Or how about Nick Sandmann, hands up, don't shoot, don't say gay, or the Hunter laptop story. They're all stories where the public was shielded from the truth with help from the Democratic-friendly legacy media, who try to diss any information that threatens their narrative. And by narrative, I mean load of cow dung.
Rogan unloads a haymaker on Obama's post-presidency glow-up. Now a global influencer with a podcast and production empire, preaching responsibility from a penthouse by the sea. It's like watching a guy who sold his soul for the spotlight, now hawk inspirational merch to his old fans. You can't warn about rising seas while sipping mojitos 5 stories above Atlantis. Greg jumps into the race. Obama had a historic chance at unity, at healing, at being truly post-racial. Instead, he sprinkled division like Parmesan cheese. Gutfeld pictures him delivering philosopher-style speeches while ghostwriting Twitter mob manuals. It wasn't progress, it was branding dissenters as morally bankrupt, turning poetic guilt into policy. Disagree with his healthcare plan? Suddenly, you were 3/5 of a citizen in his eyes. Rogan doesn't miss the arrogance, the subtle smirk, the professorial glare. It wasn't confidence, it was Harvard swagger. IQ assumed, accountability outsourced. Obama treated every question like an inconvenience, unless it came from Vanity Fair or Ivy League interns. But criticism? His skin was thinner than the 2010 economic recovery graph.
Do you remember when they gave that speech, when he gave a speech on television, and everybody was like, this?
Mm-hmm.
And then they were, it kind of just went away.
It was one of the most beautiful moments in modern American history. People really actually stood up and stopped a war from happening.
Today, I authorize the Armed Forces of the United States to begin a limited military action in Libya in support of an international effort to protect
Libyan civilians.
Gutfeld won't let go of the education disaster. Obama did more to boost unions than save crumbling inner-city schools. Greg scoffs at the idea that a man celebrated by academia could watch schools decay while funding studies on whether squirrels feel climate change. School choice? Forget it. Parental involvement? Optional. But if you wanted a lecture on systemic barriers, Obama had a 40-slide PowerPoint and an army of consultants ready to deliver. Joe closes the first round with this. Obama was the smoothest salesman alive, but at the end of the day, he was selling pure air, cool, minty, impeccably branded air. He made you feel part of something noble, even as your insurance premium soared, and your local VA hospital forgot your name. That's the trick. That's the con. He didn't govern. He narrated America's decline with a Spotify voice and a golf swing. Yet both know the roast isn't over. There's still glitter in the illusion, more myths to shatter, and more symbolic trophies collecting dust in the moral trophy case of a man who turned rhetoric into a substitute for real results. They're far from done. Just when you think the curtain's closed, Obama pops back up with a Netflix deal and a memoir every 14 minutes.
You know, if you watch Fox News on a regular basis, it is a constant menu. They will find, like, folks who make me mad.
So let's analyze. He says Fox goes out of its way to locate and then demonize the poor. For what reason? So we can and eat them? His criticism is absurd because he never suggests a motive. FNC is always focused on policies that keep the poor poor.
Joe Rogan can't help but laugh. Here's a guy who spent 8 years dodging accountability, now selling life advice like the Dalai Lama with a drone license. This isn't leadership, it's lifestyle branding. Obama turned his presidency into a streaming franchise. Gutfeld pounces like it's the final punchline at a roast. Obama didn't retire, he rebranded, pitching documentaries about American struggle from a multi-million-dollar fortress guarded tighter than Fort Knox. Reality has to pass a background check just to get past his security gate. Joe snorts at the irony. Obama taught the world to worship symbolism over substance, and then cashed in like a tech bro who just discovered public speaking. The country didn't improve, it got better at pretending depth meant slow delivery and gravitas. Behind it all, the same polished emptiness wrapped in a designer suit.